Hello everyone, welcome to another Joseki lesson. So today I'm going to show you a move that was very popular before AI, but now you barely see it in professional games. But if you play at an amateur level, you're still going to see it. It still might be an effective move, but officially, by professional standards, it is outdated. So we begin with this small knight's approach to the corner start point, and white's response here with the small knight's move, and the move I'm showing you is right here, on the side start point, number 7. And this is the Joseki, strictly speaking, because now white has to play elsewhere on another corner, like this, or this, or this. Or of course, you can just come into the 3-3 point, because now this is the age of AI. You can do that totally, and white should just leave it for now. White takes sente and play elsewhere now, because white here is not under attack. It's not afraid of black. Black can't really just pincer from this side, because white can live very comfortably here on the corner. Or if black plays something like this, then white first can come into the 3-3 point, or it can just expand on the side. So white is not afraid of being attacked at all. And there's not much to play here, although we'll talk about this variation in just a little bit. So why is this outdated? In the past, we think number 7 is extending on the side. We think the corner is the most important, the side comes second, and number 7 is clearly trying to take care of the upper side. So what's wrong with it? The problem, according to AI, is that it's not playing on the corners, because AI really emphasizes the corners. AI would rather have black take sente and play elsewhere here. AI would play something like this, right? Or have you play this move, raise a corner closer, stay closer to the corner. That's AI's approach. But from a human's approach, it's also understandable why this move is not good enough. Because first, as we mentioned before, this is not putting enough pressure on white. White is not worried about being attacked by number 7. And second, the problem is that by playing here at the start point, you don't really have the upper side. White can still come in the future, not immediately, in the future, like this, or even this. You don't have the upper side secured. So number 7 is not really gaining you anything concrete, right? It's giving you potential. Black has subsequent moves that can reinforce number 7, like this, or this, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. But number 7 itself is not giving you any concrete gains. I think that's how professional or higher level amateur players understand it. It's just a little too slow. It's just like this move. It can be ignored for professionals and higher level amateur players. But as a beginner or lower level amateur player, can you play this in games? Totally. It's a good move that kind of takes care of the upper side. It's better than some of the other moves, right? It's better than this 2-space extension, which you should not play, or this. The reason is that white have this kick, or this diagonal attachment, you can call it. There's either of those. So this kick move will force black to extend here 90% of the time. You'll have to extend here. Otherwise, in just a little bit, right, white can play this move, and now black cannot come into the corner. And this corner is huge. It's approaching 20 points, right? And number 5 is basically a wasted stone. And black is very thin here, right? So you need another move to preserve number 7. So compared to that, it's better for black to play this move. It solidifies this shape right here. But the problem for black here is that number 7 is on the 3rd line, and that's way too low. As a beginner, lower level amateur player, you should know that you should try to put some stones on the 4th line when you're trying to protect the side. The 3rd line is not enough. White can play something like this. And if black plays something like this is definitely not good for black. Black should never be content to just surround the side like this. This is 2 points with each move, and that's way too small. That is way too small. So do not play on the 3rd line and hope to just crawl like this. Now you have the territory on the upper side, but this is bad for black. So that's why number 7 should not be here on the 3rd line, because white can simply kick, and we'll learn the kicking Joseki in one of the future lessons, and we'll learn that this Joseki, the correct move for black, is once again at the start point, not here, because this is too low. This is also a little too redundant, because now this is too wide of a space for white, right? White can potentially have a 2-space extension here on the side. So number 9 here leaves too much space for white on the upper side. So that's why number 9 should be here at the start point. So that was a bit of digression, pretty useful. But again, as a beginner or lower level amateur player, it's totally fine to just play this move. And now your opponent should play elsewhere, like this. So one subsequent move black can make is this attachment underneath, into the corner. As we learned in the previous couple of lessons, white should play here at the 3-3 point. Black will try to come into the corner and kind of settle number 5, right? Because number 5 is still not entirely alive, and its connection with number 7 is not that secure, as we'll see in a minute. And now this Joseki, with this variation, should play out like this, right? So now number 17 can be here instead of here. So 2 lessons ago, we learned that without number 7 here, number 17 should be here instead. But now, black can play this. White cannot cut off number 17, because now number 18 and 20 will be trapped. White has to take care of this cutting point, but now white is surrounded by number 23. So this is not okay for white, number 18 and 20. So white can just play this band. Now there is a double Atari here at G17, so black has to take care of that by playing at number 19. So if you surround the side at the fourth line, like 7, 17, and 19, this is better. This is much better than surrounding it on the second line with the third line. So black can be satisfied with this shape. Again, white is pretty solid here. It's not afraid of being attacked. And white still has Sente. So black has invested an extra move here to solidify this side, to get into this pretty good shape. So white is not too worried because of black's extra investment here on the upper side. So this is playable for both sides, but I would prefer white. Of course, if you're thinking about expanding into the corner and guarding against white's invasion here, black can play something like this as well. Just expanding, jumping toward the center and solidifying number 5 and 7's connection here with number 9. So this works as well. Now let's talk about this invasion, which beginners and some amateur players might dread. But it's not something to be afraid of if you understand what's going on, right? We often frown upon our opponent's invasion into our side territory. After playing number 7, you might be imagining that this side is all yours. This is all black's. White shouldn't come in. But as you know, a lot of these territories and potential, they're interchangeable. You can totally trade side territory for potential at the beginning of a game. Now that's harder for beginners and lower level amateur players because they're not very good at developing potential. Right? They're good at protecting the side territory, the corner territory. Once they grab it, they can't lose it. But when they are developing their potential, right, it's not sure how much territory you can develop that potential into. But it's a leap that you must make as a player. So black should not be afraid of white's invasion here. And black's only move is right here, this press move, kind of pressing white down. And white really only has one move, and it is this wedge. Right? White will not be content with something like this. This is way too small. And black is very solid now toward the center. Like white has no chance to make any territory on the upper half of the board now, after all of these black moves. So that's why white might be losing more than gaining by invading black's side territory. So this is something that you should understand, not just for this so-called Joseki, this is not a Joseki, but for opening in general. So white must play more aggressively by playing at number 10 because it's looking to exploit black's disconnection. And black has two choices. One is cutting here, Atari. The other is playing this move, Atari. This is a slower move for black. White can connect. And now black has two cutting points to address. So black should connect here. And white will crawl twice on the third line and jump out. So this is not great for black because white has lived comfortably here on the side. And black still has a cutting point here. And white can still potentially kind of come out here. This is not ideal for black, especially when this corner is occupied by black, because you would want this stone to help secure the upper side. But now white has secured the upper side, and the corner's start points value here has been reduced by white. So this is actually better for white, though it's also playable for black because of the potential here on the outside. But in this situation, I would prefer white. So that's why you need to learn this move. This cuts white off. White must save number 10, right? It makes no sense to play this move and sacrifice number 10. This is not okay. Allowing your opponent to just capture your stone with 4 moves, this is way too solid. And even though number 5 is bumped up against white's wall here, black eventually can still come into the corner and give white some trouble. So this is not okay for white. So you always have to save this stone, no matter what happens to number 8, which is now number 8 will be captured. It's fine because it's on the third line, it's lower, it's really just about territory. But number 10 is about potential toward the center. You should see the difference here. So number 8 will be captured this way, and now black also has a cutting point. So white can cut here, and black will capture this way. So now it all depends on this ladder against number 7. So now this ladder will succeed for white. So that's why whites can play at number 8 and 10 in the first place, because of this ladder. So we're going to see many patterns like this where the book or the videos will tell you that you need to calculate the ladder before you play the variation. And that's why, because without this ladder, this will be actually pretty good for black because white cannot kill number 7, and now black can come out like this, saving number 7, and white is cut off. This will be a fight, something like this. I don't know for sure which moves both sides need, but it'll be something like this. But if white can kill number 7, this will be slightly better for white because white is connected here. So now the question is, why doesn't white play this right away? Because now apparently white can play this ladder. The problem is that white can't just play this ladder like this, because now black can play here on the second line. It's a very nice living shape, super solid. White will play this. And now black can play something on the side to kind of threaten to break the ladder. So white will need an extra move here. I don't know the exact point, will be the idea would be something like this. And now white doesn't gain much, right? It kind of helped black make two eyes on the side, which is not big, but it's still worth something, right? Black is settled. And white doesn't gain much. The potential here is very limited by black on both sides. So this is not great for white. So that's why white must play this move. It's harder to explain why white wants to play this Atari, forcing black to connect here. But even if it doesn't, this will be very similar to the previous pattern, except that white is more solid here, because this is Sente against number 19. If black captures here, white can easily extend on the side and make another eye. So it's easier for white to settle the group this way, compared to this. Because now white doesn't have this move. L18 is not in Sente, and black will be able to play something like this. So it makes a huge difference for white's potential to beat another eye on the side. So that is why white wants to play this. It's really important for settling the group. It's a very subtle difference, and it might be hard for beginners and amateur players to understand, but it's out there. So I'll just tell you, and you can think about this yourself. But now black may not be happy with this variation, because as we just said, this is better for white than this variation. So what can black do? Black can start this ko. But of course, in this situation, black can't just play this, because black has no co-threats anywhere on the board. So unless black wants to come into the corner like this, which is also fine. This is playable for both sides, actually, because the corner, the gain is pretty big. But there's nothing, so there's no really big co-threats for black. But black can leave it too. Black can play something like this and kind of forces white to play normal moves here. But now black can start this ko, and if white wins, black can cut off number 20. And this is a solid way to occupy the corner for black. And these three white stones will need to worry about their survival in just a little bit. So now, once again, the biggest points are on the corners. So white should play on the corner like this, not on the side. So this is a viable pattern. It's very complicated. And the reason is because we have to address number 8. It's a viable move, and I have to teach you how to respond to this. And this leads us to this variation, right? And now, if this is in the middle of a game, and if black has really good co-threats elsewhere, just start this ko, right? Just start this ko, you have a co-threat elsewhere, and if white connects, you connect, right? If you win this ko as black, white will all die. You're really gonna have the upper side all to yourself, and it's gonna be super solid. It's gonna be like this, right? So this is a dream scenario for black on the upper side, because white is dead, and black is super solid. So this is risky for white. You might think killing number 7 is enough, but it's actually not, because black can always threaten to break the ladder by playing a move here on the side, which is quite valuable, and white will have to try to capture number 7 this way. So white doesn't gain much. As you see, he met with many invasions to the side territory. The side that invades usually cannot gain much, and that's why you don't see professional players trying to invade on the side if it's just side territory like this, if it's not developing into the center, right? If black is really scary, it's already very solid, then you might see AI or professional players playing something like this. But when black just plays at number 7, white should not play this invasion right away. You should play on the corners, and white can reserve this move for later. Now, what if white just wants to save the corner instead of invading black? Well, white can play this move. You might think this is a little too slow. It's actually okay. It's definitely playable for beginners and amateurs. Or if black plays here, the move for white immediately will be this. As we'll learn in the kick Joseki later, the way to secure the corner would be this move, bending here. But of course, you should not bend at move number 10 of the game, because this will be playing on the second line. It's a very slow move. So whenever you get a chance, always play on the corners. Or in this situation, because number 7 is so low, you can play this exchange first. So I think that's all you need to know for now for number 7. It used to be a viable move for professionals. It's still a viable move for beginners and amateur players, I would say. But I told you the defects of this move. It doesn't have any concrete gains. AI would just think it's not playing on the corners, it's not applying enough pressure to white's corner, and it's not solidifying black's own corner. But as a human player, you understand it as not putting enough pressure on white, it's not really securing the upper side, and it has a potential connection problem with number 5. So that's why number 7 is not the optimal move anymore. But as a human player, you can still make it work. Then we talked about this variation, which you can memorize if you want. It's a subsequent move that kind of moves into the corner, solidifies the upper side. It's playable for both sides. We also talked about this invasion. It gets complicated, and there's this potential ko here, where white will play this ladder. But remember, white doesn't gain all that much if black plays the correct sequence here with 9, 11, and 13. But of course, in real games, things can get more complicated, and that's not really the responsibility of teachers to teach you in Joseki lessons. And that's what's difficult about Go, because in this chapter, we're starting to see a lot more uncertainties compared with the previous chapters, where things were strictly logical. Or chapter 4 opening, these are basic opening moves that we're 99% or even 100% sure that those are correct. But when it comes to Josekis, things are very fuzzy. Even when we have AI today, you can still feel differently, because sometimes the differences are subtle. Sometimes the AI or professional players will tell you this is good for one side, but you might feel differently because you might use the Josekis differently than the professional players or AI. So that's why you need to have your own judgment. You have to know exactly what you want, right? If you like number 7, then that's perfectly fine. Then what you want here is probably kind of having more influence on the upper side, having some good subsequent moves to play, like this one, jumping toward the center. As long as you have your own idea of why you're playing something, you should be good as a beginner or amateur player. So that's my monologue of the day. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope some of the variations are not too complicated. But of course, if you have any questions, please let me know below in the comments. As always, thank you for your support, and I'll see you in the next video.